Good time zone cats and kittens. You're listening to Harmonized, the podcast for the working streamer. My name is KiittyPls. I will be your host, and welcome to our first ever episode. Y'all, I am so excited. I can't even tell you. I am so humbled and uh, floored that so many wonderful content creators agreed to sit down and chat with little old me, and so many of them have a story to share about balancing work and family and stream. And I can't wait for them to meet you and for you to meet them. Our first episode actually starts with someone I met through this project, and her name is RhymeswithRage, and she is an absolute gem of a human being, and I cannot wait for you to meet her. Let's dive in. To start off, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into streaming, how long you've been around, things like that. Maybe how you picked your Twitch name, which I love, by the way.
Thank you. So I guess I'll start. I started streaming kind of on a whim. My husband and I, we built PCs together just as something fun to do. We liked playing video games on console, but we had never played games on PC. So we built our PCs with streaming in mind, kind of like oh, well, we can try this. If we don't like it or it's just not for us, well, we still have the PC to play games on. And so I started streaming. I think my first stream was like September 8th of 2018. It's weird the things that you remember, like the
Right?
dates that you remember.
But they're ingrained. They're
Oh
there.
yeah, 100%. And so I liked it. It kind of took off from the beginning in a way that I wasn't prepared for. I just used my username that I had on all of my other socials, which is Rhymes with Rage, because my first name literally rhymes with rage. It's not very creative. People tend to think that I rap.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what about me lends that kind of like aura, but anyways, we just kind of go with it. But yeah, so I started streaming back in 2018 and I've been streaming since. It wasn't for about a month in until I started a actual like schedule, and I've kept that since like 2018, which has been wild.
Wow. That
But
dedication, though.
I'm I'm not gonna lie, I'm really, really proud of that.
That's awesome. I would be so proud too.
But yeah, I don't know, it just kind of took off and I fell in love with it. I didn't think that anyone was even gonna show up. So to kind of be here 2 years later and things are still going extraordinarily well, that's kinda it. I don't know, we play a variety of games. I consider myself a part-time streamer, because that's kind of just what I
Yeah.
have time for right now.
hmm
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I've got to be honest with you. I was watching back one of your VODs, and
Oh gosh.
I watched this sweet little bean walk right across the stream like it was
Mhm.
her stream.
Oh, it's 100% hers. We got her, like, back in November of last year, so about a year now we've had her. She's actually I'm not gonna lie, I'm not going to startle you, she's on my desk right now.
Oh god.
Uh, her name is Lux, and whenever she hears me talking in my office, she's like, "There's a commotion, I need to be in there with people," so, yeah, it's her stream now.
I have a cat, Hannah, who does the exact same thing. Her bed is actually like on the side of my desk. So the minute she like hears my streamer voice, I guess that's what I'll use. She's like, "Oh, time for me to walk on the keyboard and sit on the mouse and make it
I'm
all about
so
me."
I'm so glad that this is not just like a contained situation because I think my cats do this too. They hear you talking, they hear you be excited, and they're like, what are they excited about if it's
Yeah.
not about me?"
Me too, please.
So yeah, I'm glad that that's not just me because as soon as I hit the go live button, she's like drawn to it.
No, it's definitely not just you. So that blows my mind that you've been so dedicated and able to keep that schedule since 2018. And how many hours a week do you work on top of your schedule?
So, not COVID times. I would
Oh yeah.
normally be working in an office, 37 and a half hours a week, but I've also been commuting an hour both
Oh
ways,
my god.
up until March since I started this job. Luckily now I'm able to work from home for the indefinite little while here. But yeah, so ultimately, if you want to count the drive, I mean, I'm out
Oh, it
here
totally
like,
counts because
yeah,
we have
I'm
to
out
live and
here
it totally counts.
yeah, I'm out here like 50 hours a week, devoting that time to my job in normal circumstances. So it's been kind of a
Oh
wild
my
ride.
god.
Yeah.
Wait, and how many hours do you stream?
So it's kind of a mixed bag. So
Mhm.
I start stream at like 7:30 p.m. Eastern time,
Mhm.
and depending on the night, I go anywhere from I end at midnight to like 1:30 in the morning. So I just kind of round it out at like 15 to 20 hours a week.
And do you sleep well?
Mm,
I'm blown away by how like you make this seem so balanced and easy.
it's not. I'm gonna be completely honest. This honestly isn't something that I talk about a whole lot, but
Mhm.
like I have such a hard time winding down from stream, especially, when I stream late into the night.
Mhm.
I can't just like end stream, take my makeup off, take a shower, go to bed.
Right? There's an unwinding process.
Yeah, because sometimes some wild stuff happens when you're live. I don't know.
Mhm.
And so you kind of have to come down from that. So on a good night, let's say that I end stream at midnight, which is a good stopping point for me if I kind of can control myself. I've been known to go to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh gosh.
Kind of just like, I don't know, you've got to wind down, you've got to get ready for bed, maybe do some like tasks before you go to bed. I don't know, like clean the kitchen or something.
Yes.
And then, if it's a weekend, perfect. If it's a Friday night, cool, I can sleep in. But a lot of the times if I'm working in the office, I have to wake up at 7, and then be out of the house by 7:45. So I mean, it's a little bit of a struggle.
Oh
Working
my.
from home working from home allows me to kind of, be a little bit more lax on that, but not much. So I sleep as well as I possibly can, I guess.
No, I feel that. I feel that so much. I wasn't I didn't really understand the struggle to separate that until I also started to have to work from home. Do you find that now without that commute, you're actually working more because you like don't have that separation, or are you pretty good at like setting those boundaries?
Oh gosh, 100% it's difficult. And I'm sure this happens to you too. If you work uh at your PC, which a lot of us have,
Mhm.
I have the dual monitor setup, which has been a godsend because I can have, entertainment on one screen and work on another. But when I get home from work, when I'm not streaming, I sit in here and play games.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where, I mean, even on nights that I do stream, I'll stop work at 5 and then I'll, go eat something, get ready for stream, and then come right back in here. Some days I find myself just, kind of living in this room.
Right?
Um, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to separate. And it's even tough to separate because like I'm like, I could just work 15 more minutes or 30 more minutes or
And then
to
an
get
hour
stuff
goes
done.
by and then you're like, where did an hour go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough, and it's definitely tough, especially when so many of us who might be working from home right now might be operating on the same type of technology here. And then there's just you kind of need to force yourself to take breaks. Otherwise, you're sitting in front of your streaming PC for days. I don't
Yes.
know.
Like there's literally times where I tell myself, okay, I have a Chromebook. I can do some of this work. Go sit outside. Just
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
sit there. Remember what the sun feels like.
Yeah, remember outside? Remember oxygen that's not circulating in your home? Man, that was nice.
Who can't remember what that's like anymore? Oh, do you feel like then it sounds like I don't want to say your sleep schedule works for you, but it sounds like you're used to that sleep pattern. At this point, do you find that you end up with balancing work and stream that you sacrifice something like in like that pie that we're all supposed to have? God, I remember this diagram from like high school where it's like all of the like parts of your life that are balanced. So like social life and sleep and eating healthy, exercise. Like, do you find that you're going outside? Do you find that you're missing any of that by doing both, or do you think that you've got a pretty solid way of like keeping it all even?
It's definitely some things get sacrificed, and it seems like it changes on a weekly basis. Like, one week, I just accept that the house isn't gonna be as clean as I would like it to be,
Ah,
or
yes.
one yeah, no, the everlasting struggle of just trying to keep a clean house on
Oh.
top of everything, or, like, another week, it might be, laundry just isn't getting done as fast as I would like it to be, or another week, I don't see friends or I don't play games with friends. It's a lot of sacrifices, but what I would be concerned about is if I didn't have a full-time job, like what would I do with that time? Would I just devote that more towards content creation or would I devote that towards social life or family or stuff like that? I always get a little bit concerned about that where I'm like, you'd have all of this extra time.
What would you do with it?
But I'm like, that would just go into I don't know, I don't think that you would have any extra free time if given that choice. You would just devote it
Oh,
to more and more
absolutely.
stuff, you know?
I don't know how to not be busy. I don't think it's a thing
Mhm.
that my brain knows how to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm sure you can relate to this. It's hard for me to just sit here and not think about what else I could be doing. It's hard to take a moment to relax, and instead,
Mhm.
your mind kind of wanders and is like, well, I could be getting this done right now
Yes, it, like,
and not
guilt
have to
trips
worry about it
you.
later.
You're like,
Yeah,
"I'm gonna sit here
100%.
on the couch, even if it's just for 10 minutes, and just, like, sit on the couch with my Switch." And then my checklists that have checklists that have checklists are like, "No, no, these are all the things you could do."
Yeah, 100%. It's tough to juggle everything and to devote all of that time to it, and then you just find yourself running out of hours in the day and something kind of gets lost in it, I guess.
But speaking to your profession a little bit, was it something that you were doing when you started streaming? So when you started that like schedule in 2018, was were you doing what you're currently doing?
So, it's actually interesting. I had just had a job change. So I feel like, building a PC, starting streaming, and getting this new job, this new full-time job, it all kind of happened at once. I think I built my PC like August 28th, started streaming on September 8th, and then I think I started a new job a few days before my first stream. So I've had a slew of weird jobs that don't really connect in any certain way. I worked in a public library for a short amount of time.
That sounds amazing. I'm sorry. The book nerd in
No,
me
no,
just
no,
went,
you're
"Oh."
fine. No, working in a library was great and also an eye-opening experience all at once. It's just a
Yeah.
very interesting workplace. Some of the stuff that you get into is, just really interesting. Working with the public, I think that that's
Yeah.
just a general thing. But then I jumped from that to working in a tattoo shop. I managed a tattoo shop for a few years, with some tattoo artist friends of mine, which was super fun. But, I was actually commuting an hour in the opposite direction of where I wanted to be.
Oh
So
no.
so I was like, "Okay, we've been wanting to move for a while," which we're actually right in the process of right now. Everything's kind of happening. It's 2020. But
Let's
so
do it
I
all.
yeah, no, just all at once, because then you don't have to worry about it later, right?
No.
But, I left the tattoo shop job, which I was in love with, to get a more professional job in an insurance office, in an hour in the opposite direction where we wanted to be. So I was kind of in this, like, weird transitional period in my life, and I started this new kind of a little bit of, like, a hoity-toity professional job, and I was like, "I need to do something that provides me with a little bit of fun where I feel like I can be myself," and that was streaming. So, yeah.
I saw all of the beautiful artwork you had in your backdrop, and then
Oh,
something
yeah.
about you have like over 30 tattoos. I
Yeah,
think that's wicked.
I think we're nearing, like, 40 now,
Oh, that's so awesome. I have had
Thanks.
my shoulder cap drawn up for 2 years, and I just can't convince myself during COVID to go get it. So,
That's 100% fair. The concern is real there, but hey, maybe when things kind of calm down, I fully suggest you go do that. Tattoos are fun.
just want to get the evenness is bothering. Having two, I feel like I once I got my first one, they're like, you're gonna want more. And then I got my second one, and then I was like, all right, now I want a lot more.
Yes, they say that tattoos are addicting, and I think it's just one of those things where rather than being addicting, you kind of hype yourself up for that first one, but then once you realize that it's not so bad, you're like, "Oh, I want all of the tattoos."
Oh, I made
It's definitely
the worst mistake ever. My first tattoo was a back piece right on my spine. I was like, of course this is
Oh,
but it was totally worth it.
yeah.
But I was like the one on my arm felt like nothing. So I totally feel that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, the pain in the moment, it's hard to when you're there and getting it done, it's hard to understand this, but the pain in the moment, it's not that bad considering that the tattoo's gonna last forever, but once you're done, you're like, "You know what? This next tattoo, it's gonna be easier."
Mentally it's a better game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and you just know what to expect moving forward.
So do you think, and I guess including like the artistic skills from tattooing as well, do you find that any of the skills you had from your jobs kind of pour into streaming or help you in streaming in any way?
I think one thing that's definitely helped has just been all of my jobs from past to present have always been dealing with people,
Mm-hmm.
in different capacities. I mean, in person, on the phone, through email, just a lot of communication, which I think has been
Mm-hmm.
super nice. I don't know, like learning how to talk to people in different capacities. And Twitch definitely facilitates that. You just have people from all different walks of life. I said that working in the library was interesting because well, you just meet so many different people. You're working with the public. Everyone is welcome in the library. You're going to meet so many different characters, and I think that definitely translates well over to streaming. But as far as my job now, I don't know. It's such a completely different world. I tell my community a lot. It's kind of hard to explain. Like me in real life and me online is a completely different person than who I'm at work.
Mm-hmm.
I have to cover up all of my tattoos. I have to take my jewelry out. I have to kind of style my hair a little bit differently, make myself look very presentable and professional.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm typing in a professional email versus I don't know, even typing in someone else's Twitch chat, it feels like this weird
Like you're two different
divide.
people. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I think one thing that's kind of been great about Twitch has kind of having that, opportunity to be myself, but also I find professional rhymes kind of peeking out like, "Oh no, you have to be super polite to literally everyone even if they're being rude to you," and different stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's been a little bit of a hindrance, but I mean, there are just other aspects again, talking to people, uh, and communicating with people has definitely helped.
So it's interesting that you said that about work. Do your coworkers and boss at your new job know about streaming, and would it be an issue if they did? I know so many of us keep like our streams like hidden from work. So, but then some of us are really lucky and get to have that open sort of dialogue. So I'm curious how this new job is with you.
Oh, yeah, no one at my current job might not even know what Twitch is. So they have no idea what I do in the majority of my free time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just be afraid, not so much that, like, my Twitch stream would get me in trouble with work or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, one, putting on this air of professionalism that I don't feel like I need to uphold when I'm streaming,
Mm-hmm.
that would kind of be, a shattering experience for them, I feel like.
Yeah.
And 2, I don't know, it's one of those situations, oh, hold on, my Discord's having a little okay, there we go. Um, and 2, it's one of those things where I just don't think that they would completely understand it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it would be, really hard to explain to them, and I deal with this with family to a certain extent. Explaining to them exactly what it is that we do as streamers, and what's important about it to us. I think it's one thing, people on Twitch get it.
Yeah.
viewers, other streamers, just talking to you, we both have this common understanding of what it is that we do, but explaining it to someone on the outside, it's really difficult. Have
Ex
you ever had to explain this to anyone that
explaining
doesn't know?
I said it to my fiance. I was like, explaining Twitch to non-Twitch people is basically pointless sometimes because I what comes, at least with my experience with my coworkers, because I've always been met with, oh, so you just play video games. And I'm like, well, no.
Mm.
I'm like, that's not what I do. And so then it was like, oh, so you're trying to be ninja. No, no. Because that's all they could connect with, because they saw him on like a Super Bowl ad or something. I don't remember.
Mhm.
Um, so it's so difficult to even explain it that sometimes I just don't bother.
Yeah.
You know? But I guess, do you feel that if you did know they were watching, you would have to limit your content creation anyway, like the way you speak or your behaviors, or do you think that you would be comfortable being you, not professional you, like if they were to pop in? Oh, did I lose you?
Watching, I would Oh, can you hear me?
Yep,
Hello?
I can hear you. We're good.
Okay. Okay, cool. No, that's an interesting question. It's one thing if they knew, I think I would be okay with it. It would definitely be a bit awkward, but if I knew that my coworkers were actually like watching the stream, I feel like I would have to act a little bit of a different way. I feel like I would kind of have to have that air of professionalism,
And isn't
which it
that a
just doesn't
shame?
fit. Yeah, no, 100%. I've never thought of it that way.
Like, it just
Um,
bothers me that people feel that they have to, like, be other than themselves if there's people there that are going to judge them, or that, are from work. And I would really love to see people in other professions and in the outside world, like, take their judgment a few steps back. We're just vibing over here.
yeah, I wonder how many people, again, I've never thought of this. I wonder how many people might kind of be worried about maybe their coworkers finding out and that
Mhm.
keeps them from streaming too. I've never thought about that.
So,
I've just always been like, I'm just gonna keep it a secret the best that I can.
yep. So I know for me personally, I don't curse on stream,
Mhm.
because I have a very public facing job, and it can be like, sometimes my opinions or my voice can be considered the voice or the opinion of, like, that profession and that job. So I just always censor myself on the off chance that anybody comes in. But I'm still me. But I wonder, and I worry, for people like that, if they limit themselves in that way.
Yeah, well, and it's a thing too where, we talk about a lot of personal stuff on stream. Some streamers more so than others.
Hmm.
Me personally, we talk about LGBTQ issues. We talk about stuff going on in our personal lives. We talk about a lot of stuff that some people wouldn't be comfortable with bringing up at I don't know, a workplace with
Hmm.
coworkers. And I think that's another thing for me too is I don't talk about certain things with my coworkers where I'm very open and honest with my community about a lot of stuff that is going on in my life or in my past, and
Hmm.
that's kind of, if you let your coworkers know, all of a sudden all of that's open to them too.
Yep.
So,
My
yeah.
community knows so much more than my coworkers do.
Yes,
For
exactly.
sure. Oh man. So, as someone who has, like, that profession and that job, and but you have such a set schedule, and I think that's so awesome for you. um do you ever feel, as you worded it, as a part-time streamer, like, this pressure to keep up with the full-time content creators, and like how they're growing and all of this work they're putting in, because you have to put in hours at, like, work and first? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. Yeah, no, it's difficult because you see, it's hard not to compare yourself and your content to other people who might have more time and energy than
Hmm.
you do. We see all of these full-time content creators, and I'm so excited and happy for them. Um, but it's really difficult to not get a little bit envious in that sense of like, man, if I had that same amount of time, could I be in that same spot? Could I be doing better? Could my stream be growing even more? It's really difficult not to get caught up into it. And
Mhm.
we all have our different financial obligations, and for people who are just able to make full-time content creation work, that's awesome, but it's definitely tough sometimes. It's definitely a little bit of a mental struggle to not compare and
Mhm.
not try to keep up when you just don't have the same, I don't know, I don't want to say resources, but the same constraints, I guess.
Yes.
So it's tough. 100%.
So
Um
when
oh,
I was
sorry.
planning, no, you're fine. When I was planning this podcast, this is sort of where it came from. Is I was talking to other streamers who do work that much, and there was just this feeling of frustration that they wanted to do more, they wanted to be more, they wanted to pour more into their content, and I almost had to take a step back and wonder, like, are we doing ourselves a disservice playing this what if game, and whether we need to look at it that way or look at it as in, look it, I work 30, 40 hours a week and I still made this. I think it's something that we necessarily have to frame, that somebody who does stream full time doesn't have to consider.
Yeah, and I think, something, I mean, being in content creation, like live content creation in 2 years time, it's something that I've thought really like long and hard about. I'm like, on the flip side of that coin, these full-time content creators who are in this position, they have to have so much control and self-control, I guess, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of time management. Because when you have all of this time, and obviously, like, you still have household chores, you still have family, you still have significant others and all
Mm-hmm.
of the stuff going on, but you do have a little bit more time and you just kind of have to be on it. And I think, in our situation, where if we have kind of a set schedule outside of streaming, it kind of keeps us to that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I'm like, oh my God, would I be able to, kind of have that constraint in keeping myself on track with those extra hours?
I
Uh, I
it's
don't
it's a
know.
lot. And I know I personally have said before that I could never do it, because just the stress of not having like financial security alone, and like having
Yeah.
to pay for health insurance, and like having to figure out my taxes after all of that. Like, I feel like nobody considers all of the downsides to full-time streaming and how hard these people work. I'm like, I could
Right.
never. I could never.
Yeah, and I wonder too if a lot of the times where, some people on this side of it feel a little bit envious and wish that they also had a lot more hours in the day to devote to content creation. I'm just like, is it a thing where we're both on either side just being
Yeah.
like, looking and being like, the grass is so much greener over there? So yeah, I don't know. It's just a tough thing. It's hard to not get into that, like, mental what if, like you said,
Mhm.
and you could be digging yourself into a hole a little bit with it. But again, it's gonna happen. If it wasn't that, it's going to be, a bunch of other things that you're going to look at on this website where, Twitch kind of gamifies the entire progress that you make as a
Yes.
content creator. So it's really hard to not get caught up in it. I don't know.
No, I absolutely agree, and I don't know if it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, if it's just the nature of the beast. It's just something that I was starting to notice, and I was like, God, has anybody like thought about this? Like, I think it's exactly like what you're saying. Like, we're both standing on the fence, like, hey, your grass looks great. You want to come to my grass, and I'll go to your grass, and it'll be fine. But I think now, at least from what I've seen, because I've been streaming since 2018 as well. But when I swapped careers, I had like a full career swap. I had to take a several month break. So I basically started from the beginning again. So, but it's always been a hobby for me. Like you said, like sharing that stuff with your community and talking to people in gaming. Streaming brings me so much joy. But I found lately that there's not a lot of hobbyist streamers anymore, and I don't
Mm.
know if that's just in my head or not, but do you think there's a place for the hobbyist streamer on Twitch, or do you think that now it's, there's a push for, oh, well, you should be monetizing your creation, you should be monetizing this, like you should be pushing for these goals? Or do you think there's still a place in Twitch the way it is now for the people who are just there to have fun?
I think there's 100% a place for people who just wanna do this as a hobby and just for fun and just kinda wanna dip their toes in and see how they enjoy it and then make a decision whether they wanna monetize or just continue doing this just for
Mm-hmm.
fun, moving forward. But I think what's difficult is, and this is something that I see all over Twitter and all over YouTube, when it comes to kind of the Twitch sphere, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many people who were like, "Hey, you wanna make money off of this? Here's what you've gotta do. Here are the steps. Here are the tips and tricks to making money on Twitch." And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's very easy to get caught up in that. If again, I feel like on Twitter, there are these different spheres. You've got, like, hobbies and crafting, you've got sports, you've got Twitch. Twitch is its own little bubble
Mm-hmm.
on that website. So if
Streamer
you start
Twitter.
exactly, exactly, streamer Twitter. So if you kinda get caught up in that, that's gonna be a lot of what you see are these, like, streamer advice pages and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I think what contributes to it too is, I've run into this a lot on Twitch itself is, if a strictly viewer sees someone doing well on the website, they might assume that that person they stream for full-time content creation. They stream and it's their only financial source of income. And I think I mean I've had it where I've had people assume that I'm a full-time streamer because
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk about my job a lot on stream. If it gets brought up, it's not a secret,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something I don't know. I like to stream and kind of forget about
Yes,
the
it's your
8 hours of
escape from the
work.
job. Yes.
But people come in and they'll be like, "Oh, I thought you did this as a job." And I'm like, "No, I've been very blessed with a very giving community and, I stream part-time. It's I make a decent amount of money on Twitch. It's nothing to scoff at, but it's nowhere near keeping me going,
Mm-hmm.
financially. I couldn't depend on it solely. But again, I think that if people walk into your stream and see that you have a nice setup and you present yourself as a professional streamer,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to assume. So I feel like a lot of people get this idea where they're like, this person streams full time. They make money on Twitch. I can do that too. And I feel like a lot of people go into it with a different mindset about
Mm-hmm.
it instead of just going in and saying, "I wanna do this for fun. If it pans out, cool. If it doesn't, I'm just out here having fun."
Yeah,
I think 100% there's room, but it's just
I'm
it
missing
can
those
kind of get
people.
skewed.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
missing them a bit. It's interesting that I never even thought of it from that perspective of the viewer just assuming that you're full time.
Mhm.
And like looking at a streamer and being like, oh, this is obviously where they make their money from. And that leads me into, my next question is streaming equipment in general. Some of it is really expensive. And do you feel that people look at those and they're like, "Oh, I need those things to stream"? Because I know as someone, who has income outside of Twitch, I'm more likely to purchase those things because it's not going to mean like, "Oh, I don't eat that week," or "Oh, I don't pay my bills that week." But for some of these people like trying to start out who literally don't have much, I feel like that's like they feel like they have to get those things.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we talked about it in a stream just a few weeks ago. There was a person who said they were like, "Yo, I wanna stream, I just don't have the funds for it." And I was like, "I completely understand that. Even just building a PC that you can stream from can be
Mm-hmm.
expensive." But, it's one of those things where I was trying to explain it in sense of, you could start streaming from your phone and, save up money and
Mm-hmm.
buy little bits and pieces at a time. You don't need although I love my Elgato key light. I love it so dearly. I'm looking at it and I'm, like, visually apologizing to it as I say this. But on the other side of my desk, I have a $30 box light from Amazon,
Yeah.
that's held up for 2 years. And it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where I don't know, working full-time outside of Twitch, I do feel like I have a little bit of wiggle room for buying professional equipment and upgrading my
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, I started out with like a $12 microphone. And that lasted me for a little while, but once I saved up a little bit and once Twitch was kind of taking off for me a little bit, I was
Mhm.
like, "You know what? I can invest." But it is difficult. If I didn't have this full-time job, the money that I was making from Twitch would be largely going to bills so that I could
Mhm.
stay in the house that I'm in. It would be difficult. It would 100% be difficult. And like you said, if you didn't have this full-time job, buying equipment would be a matter of sacrificing other things. So I think it's definitely something that not a lot of us consider, but I don't know, it's also just a matter of I try to spend my Twitch income on Twitch things.
Mhm.
Sometimes I might splurge a little bit and dive into my office job pay, but for the most part, just trying to keep that back and being like, "Okay, this is gonna go to bettering the stream," but not everyone is in that same position.
I love that you brought up the you could stream on your phone because there's that one, oh bless his soul, this gentleman who like blew up, um and he streamed from his phone where he was doing like wood carving and he was like, I just hope you all have a wonderful day and like I just want you all to be happy.
Yes! Oh my
I
gosh, I love him!
He's so good. And like he was, when they went to his place and they saw like how he was filming, he literally had his phone tied to like a string to his ceiling and that's how he started. And
Mhm.
he still brought so much joy to people, and like that's the dream right there in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, and it's one of those too where I feel like too many people see successful streamers have like a really nice setup and they're like, "Oh, well, I could never do that." But I think what people don't realize is the majority of streamers on the platform, their communities might be smaller, their viewership might be smaller, they might be harder to discover, but the majority of people who stream on this platform do not have, like ninjas set up in
Oh
the
no.
background with the lights and the colors and everything. Like that's
Nobody
not
starts there, you know.
no, 100% not. And but again, if that's your introduction to this website and you're like, I want to do that, it's hard to picture yourself in that situation and you kind of don't even consider that you could just start with, again, a $12 microphone, a $30 box light. You don't even need a light. You could just use a lamp. But if you see someone having a professional setup, it's difficult to kind of put yourself lower than that and be like, "Oh, well, I could do that eventually."
Mm-hmm. I feel that there was somebody, the other day talking about stream decks. And I'm like, but you don't need one. Like, are they awesome? Yes. Do you need one? No. There's tons of free apps on your phone. Like, until you
Mhm.
get there, like, don't tell yourself no before you even try.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I think even Stream Deck has an app now,
Oh,
but I
did they?
I could be totally wrong on that, but again, like you said, regardless of if the Stream Deck has an app, there are 100% other apps out there. It sucks to have to literally click a button in like OBS, but I'm not gonna lie, I have a Stream Deck again. I have a Stream Deck sitting in front of me, and it's been a godsend. But half the time I forget about it, and I'm clicking buttons in OBS to
Right?
get things
I do
done.
not utilize mine to the potential that it could be used. But, I think that's because we are like so comfortable just sort of clicking things, and it's one of those things
Yeah.
where it's great to have, but I don't want streamers, especially streamers starting out, to think I have to have that before I can start.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Again, you could stream on a cell phone, you could stream on a laptop. Honestly, I've seen people who have setups who have just like a lamp on the corner of their desk with like a thin sheet over it, and it produces such good light that I'm like, "How in the world did you
Magic.
make that work?" So, yeah, but again, it's just one of those things where you aren't going to start out with all of this fancy equipment. Do you need a stream deck for starting out? No. Do you need a fancy light for starting out? No. Um, people will show up. People will come into your stream regardless.
Do you think that, given everything, and it's been really cool to hear, like, your experience in all of the different jobs and all of that. Do you think if you were given the opportunity to be a full-time streamer, would you, or would you prefer to have that job and then stream still?
I I would love to try it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those situations where long term, I don't know. It would depend on, once you get in there, does it work for you?
Mm-hmm.
Does the devotion to content creation as your full-time source of income work for you and your lifestyle and what you want out of it? Does it work financially for you? It's not set in stone. The
Mm-hmm.
pay isn't there every week like it is when you get a paycheck from your 9 to 5. So it's one of those things where I would love to try full-time content creation and see how it would benefit me, mentally working from home and not focusing on requests that I get in my email every 5 minutes. But yeah, I would love to try it. And maybe it wouldn't be for me, but it would be really fun to try.
I think it's awesome that you brought up the like would the joy still be there? I didn't
Yeah.
even consider that. Like if you know, how do you avoid burnout and like not falling out of love with this thing that you love when you're doing it every single day? Like when the joy becomes and the hobby becomes work, does that take away from it a bit?
Yeah, people always wanna strive and, they say, "When you're doing what you love, it no longer feels like a job," and I'm like, "No, it's probably still going to feel like a job, it's just going to be something that, you've enjoyed doing, so why not maybe try this and see what it's like?" But yeah, I would be concerned a little bit that, when you focus on this full time, are you still gonna have fun with it? Hopefully it doesn't, ruin your love for something that you've done for so long before you jumped into it full time. And that's something that, not a lot of people think about. And again, should that stop you from trying out full time content creation if it's feasible? No, but I think it's something to consider.
I think it's just a realistic idea to keep in the back of your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think being realistic about this too, so many people want to get into content creation full time, and that sounds great on paper, and a lot of us would do that. I don't know how you feel. I'm
Mhm.
kind of curious to see how you feel about if you were given the opportunity, if you'd like to do full time content creation. But I think it's something to consider. Are you still going to enjoy this when it is your profession,
Mhm.
and not just something that maybe you're doing on the side.
Oh, absolutely. So I had to really sit and think about it when COVID first hit because I was working two jobs at the time, and obviously I lost both.
Oh my gosh, I'm
So
so sorry.
I am a cat. I landed on my feet. It's okay.
Good.
um, but I in that month was like, you know what? While I'm waiting for unemployment to kick in, why don't we try streaming? I just tried it 4, sometimes 5 days a week. And it's just, I don't think I am a strong enough person to do it. You know, I'm a very anxious person. I'm also probably the hardest on myself. So if I was constantly worried, okay, am I going to make enough to pay bills this month? Am I going to make enough to do this month? Like, what if, people don't like this game anymore? Do I need to swap my game? What if, people are tired of me swapping games? What if they want me to play the same game? Like, I'm just so much my own worst enemy with that. I know personally I couldn't, and I applaud everybody who does work full time because I think for as much as like you said again with the grass is greener on both sides sort of thing, I think a lot of people truly don't take a step back and think about how hard full time content creators have to work to make it work. And
Yes.
I just don't think I have the chutzpah, as my as my aunt would say, to really hack it. Would I think it would be awesome? Yes. Do I think I would burn myself out very quickly trying to be the best that I could possibly be all of the time? Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, well, and that brings it back around to the, what are you sacrificing when you're working full time and you're streaming?
Mm-hmm.
Doing both at the same time is if you had that extra time, would you just devote that all to streaming and then you're still kind of sacrificing other things.
Mhm.
I mean, my husband and I talked about it. I'm fortunate to have paid time off throughout the year, and I was like, if I have a little bit left, I would love to maybe devote some of that paid time off to just kind of like taking a week off of work, not for a vacation. This is probably going to sound weird to some people, but like taking a week off of work and just seeing how much content I could produce in a week's time, waking up and going to bed based on my stream schedule rather than my full time work schedule, and just seeing what it would be like getting a glimpse into that kind of realm. And then, before just being like, just quitting my job and running off to be a full-time streamer, just seeing what that life is like.
I
And
think that's amazing.
would that be cool, just having a glimpse of it? And, again, like
Yeah.
you said, it takes a lot. It might not be anything that I'd want to do after trying it for a week, but just kind of testing it and being realistic about it and being like, how would that extra time benefit? Would I devote that to content creation, or would I instead devote some of that extra time to something else?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head because we said right at the beginning, like sometimes we just don't leave our PCs. We forget what outside is.
Mhm.
Would full time just mean, losing track of the hours, like, oh, I gotta make these panels, I gotta make these alerts, and then, the coffee cups piled up on my desk didn't get washed and the laundry from last week is still in the corner. And like, I think it's the same issue just in a different way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you said that. I'm looking at a few coffee cups over to my right-hand
I
side. I
feel
didn't
like
lose
that's
any.
a streamer
eh
staple is the coffee cups or like the cups on the desk.
Yeah, you mentioned tea earlier. I went and made tea with a brand new coffee cup, so I've added an additional one to my collection over here. So that's
Oh.
but seriously though, that's a behind the scenes look into being a streamer. You just collect coffee mugs on your desk.
If anybody could ever see my desk while I was streaming, I think I would die.
Oh,
Just
I can't explain to you working from home and streaming and just kind of legitimately just living in this room for the majority of the day. It's
Mhm.
it's a mess.
Like sometimes and I have to watch myself in my Zoom meetings where I'm like, thank God that it's also called the chat because I'll literally say, so let me just read the chat really quick, or like I'll make like a comment and I'm like, oh, this is not this is not the thing that we were doing.
Oh
Um
my gosh, I didn't realize this. This is something that I've talked about to my husband before, but if you do Zoom meetings for work, but you
mhm.
have the streamer set up, do you use
Oh,
your streaming PC for your Zoom meetings?
oh,
And then people have to ask, like, "Why is your camera so nice? What
yep.
how are you lit so beautifully?"
So the first it was so awkward. The first like week's worth of meetings, I see my and I say older with love because I really do love her, but I see my older coworker with her Chromebook turned up, so all you see is like up her nose because she's trying to figure out like kind of where the camera is, and like, you see everybody else like on their phones or like sitting outside on like their ThinkPad or whatever it is, and here's me in my Streamlabs chair, like my HyperX headphones and like a fully decorated background, and they're like, "So, Kitty, like, what you doing over there?" So,
Oh my
I
gosh.
kind of pass it off as like, oh, like this is my space. Like everybody has like a diva den or a man cave. Like this is like my diva den, and they're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, that makes sense. And I'm like, yep, yep,
Yeah, when we had our first, like, Zoom meeting back in March, which was supposed to be a weekly thing, that didn't happen. We haven't had a Zoom meeting since, like, July.
oh
But the
god.
first one, I was like, "How no one knows that I stream," but I was like, how am I gonna do this and not make it look questionable?" So I literally was like, "I'll just do it on my laptop." But I angled it so that you couldn't see, like, my background with all of the art in it.
hmm
You couldn't see my lights. I just used, like, daylight out of the
Oh
freaking, window. I was trying to be as inconspicuous as I possibly could, and no one caught on, I don't think. So
oh, I
but
should have
that's
done that.
That's something that, a few other people that I'm friends with that stream, they were like, "I'm out here using this, like, really nice webcam and this light and stuff," and all of my coworkers are just like, "Man, you have a really nice computer."
So what I've learned after that first week is I just pull my green screen up because Zoom has like built-in backgrounds. So
That's right.
I just put up the green screen and it's like it never happened.
That's
Oh.
honestly perfect, though.
But I just, I hadn't even considered it because I'm so used to from streaming just turning the camera on, ready to go. Like, oh, I didn't have to set anything up. I'm good to go for Zoom. And then it dawned on me the minute I saw everybody's backgrounds, and I was like, oh no, mistakes have been made.
Yeah, I mean, if you just make your background, like, super wild, they're not gonna think anything of it. They're like, "Well, that's obviously a green screen."
Yeah, they have this option now where you can set like a PowerPoint as your background. So I just like pick a random PowerPoint theme for the day and like throw it up behind me.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, but I my final question for you, and this has been an absolute pleasure. You are such a gem. Uh, do you feel like, given where you're at with streaming right now, COVID aside, because I feel like that's an irregular in the regular. Do you feel like you've had your life is harmonized? Like you have that perfect balance between work and stream and the things in your life? And if yes, what sort of advice would you give others looking to achieve that? And if no, how do you see yourself working to get there? I know that's like a very long question, but
Oh, no, that's fine. First off, this has been great. I was super nervous.
I was
So thank you for
too.
being absolutely wonderful and super friendly and welcoming and just making me feel comfortable because this has been great. This was fun. Oh gosh. Okay, so if I feel harmonized in my work and stream schedule, I would say no. But I would say that I'm balancing it the best that I can given, the again, pre-COVID, if I was commuting and working all of the hours and also streaming, I would be balancing it the best that I could. I would be making it work. I guess ultimately what I could change moving forward is I'm very hard on myself when it comes to taking nights off if I need to take nights off, if I need to reschedule a stream or just cancel a stream altogether, kind of working on that, telling myself that it's okay if the work day
Hmm.
has been long and I just don't have the energy levels to put on a good stream, that's 100% okay.
Yeah.
And other things like that, I think getting maybe a little bit better sleep, ending stream a little bit early to accommodate waking up early in the morning would be good. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where even if it doesn't feel like a perfect balance, if you're just trying to make sure you're balancing it as well as you can, then maybe you can feel as harmonized as you possibly can be in that situation.
We are in fact hardest on ourselves, so I absolutely agree with that. I hope
Yeah.
the next time you question if you deserve a night off, you tell yourself yes, and you make a cup of tea and you do whatever the heck you want that day.
Well, yeah, it's a work in progress, but we're working towards treating ourselves with a night off every once in a while.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. Uh,
Thank
um,
you, Kitty. It was wonderful. Thank you for having me. This was super fun.
I will let you know as soon as I'm done. I have to try the whole editing thing where I like put the intro and then the outro. Like that's all I have to do, so it'll be new for me. Um, but as soon as it's posted, the episodes are I have them in my mind, ideally set to
Mhm.
go up every Saturday. So it would either
Ooh.
be this Saturday or next Saturday, and I would shoot you a link and I already grabbed your schedule from your Twitch page, so like your link and like your schedule where everybody can find you is down
Oh,
there.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing that.
yeah. So
I just I just followed the Twitter today. I saw it pop up and I was like, "Oh, I bet I know what this is." So
I
that
I
I
literally
followed it
just
today.
I just made it, and I'm like, do I really want to have a bajillion socials on top of like my streamer socials? And like the perfectionist in me is like, yes, just get the account in case you decide you want it later, so you have the name across the board.
Mhm. It's
But
almost unavoidable to not end up with, like, 5 different social media accounts on, like,
I'm
one
like,
platform
I
at this point.
deleted everything except like personal social media wise, except for my Instagram to keep up with my friends' baby pictures. That's literally it.
Mm, mhm. Oh, man. Yeah, no, I feel it. I still have Facebook, like, personally, but other than that, my Instagram has been taken over with Twitch stuff, like, my personal Instagram, so I was like, we'll just go that way. That's fine."
Oh, but I'm so excited, and I hope I can come by a stream soon. And now that I know when you're live and everything, I want to eventually meet everybody in Plant Army. I know it's a very daunting task because there's so many of us, but
Oh, there's so many, but I 100%, I'm kind of, like, keeping that in my head too to go out and venture out and meet new people in the army. There are a lot of us though, so it
you
can
know,
be a
you
little.
just get so comfy and cozy in your own little like corner of Twitch, you forget that like there's all these new people you could be meeting.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to hear the finished product. I'm super excited to hear your intro that you were talking about
Oh god,
earlier.
it's so bad.
I'm sure it's great. But I can't wait to hear that. I'm definitely gonna pop by one of your streams too soon, so don't be surprised if I'm like, "Hey,
Oh,
remember me?" So,
thank
I
you
plan
so
on doing that
much.
soon too.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I hope you
absolutely.
have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk with you soon.
Yes, definitely. You have a good evening too. Don't work too hard, and, it was super nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too, Kitty. Bye.
Bye.